Greetings, programs. My name is Wretch, and I'd like to welcome you to Vampire the Masquerade Sins of the Sires. We are back with another Choice of Games interactive fiction title, this time by Natalia Theodoridou. I am so sorry if I butchered that. But we've got another kind of massive choose-your-own-adventure interactive novel set in the world of darkness. We have played Night Road and Parliament of Knives. We had a lot of fun with those titles, and now we're going to jump into it again, this time I believe in Greece. So just a little bit of warning here, I will not be doing like a Greek accent. I don't want to like butcher it too bad. I'm not really familiar with what a Greek accent is. I will try my best to pronounce everything correctly, but I want to apologize in advance to the Greek people for what I am about to do. But I'm looking forward to it. Hope you guys are. Let's go ahead and get started. Chapter 1, A River Through It All. You're walking down University Avenue, wrapped in darkness. Most of the shops are closed at this hour, some of them for years now, shuttered and graffitied, but the bars and clubs will stay open till morning. You can feel the beat through the asphalt as you pass their heavy doors, aware of the bodies crowding inside. Full. Alive. The shop you're going to never closes. It only sleeps. The bodies of its owners and patrons, cold, inert. In it, only the blood is alive. The air is warm for an early spring night. Athens unfurls around you like a rotting night flower, its stench of piss and fumes and grime clinging to your skin. The familiarity of it. The humanity of it. Look at them. The couples walking holding hands on their way home, their breaths laced with alcohol. The taxi drivers with their unshaven faces and their tired eyes. The woman in the corner, standing absently, her arms crossed over her belly as if she's holding on to something. Her dreams, maybe? Or her despair that might spill out of her if she lets go. They'll spill out of her like guts. They have lives, all of them. A world they inhabit, squatting right at its center. Jobs, families, hobbies. You were like that too once, remember? Remember who you were before you became this. So apparently there's a specific path that we can take in character creation to get to a Malkavian, but petty thief, drug mule, minor con artist, fixed computers, PhD student in history and literature, track athlete, muscle at a club. Well, if we want to go with a Malkavian, that's primarily like mental aspects. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, a Malkavian can be anything, but let's go with the PhD student in history and literature. Let's set the human bar high before it all comes crashing down. Hey, Vito. What's going on, buddy? You used to spend most of your time in the library and tutoring undergrads for cash, both online and in person. Your students respected you. You used to walk this very route, in fact, back and forth from the university library to your home. But you were carrying books then, not how things have changed. Sometimes you think back on your life and wonder, was that really you back then? That body with its effortlessly beating heart, its warm flowing blood, its mortal coil, family, friends, profession. You even had hobbies. They seemed important. Everything did. Used to dance a lot, hunt animals in the forest, get tattoos. We're used to play RPGs with my party. You've been playing since you were children. The party saw people come and go every few years, but you and Alex, your storyteller, were always at the core. You continued to play through your adolescence and kept up with the habit well into your adulthood. They still meet. You watch them from afar sometimes at the old warehouse. Alex emoting and gesturing in the low light of a paraffin lamp, their face intense. They'd always been so intense. The party laughing or stressing, rolling the dice, winning, losing, moving on. Not you. You're not a part of this anymore, or anything else. You look up at the dark sky above, blotted out by streetlights, the shroud of clouds tinted brown by smog. This is what thinking back to your life feels like sometimes. Like a layer of shit muddies the view of your own memories, your own past. Everything seems distant, unclear, dull. But you had a family once, before you were embraced. Before your sire abandoned you and Marcos took you in, for reasons only he knows. You had people who cared about you, didn't you? Yes. Ooh. Can you see if you're a caitiff? Yeah, we can go ahead and check that. We are a caitiff. Okay, so we start out caitiff. So what should our ties be, guys? Should it be a lover, a father, a mother, a sibling, or a child? It's me, Vito. The net is having issues. What do you guys think? A lover, a father, mother, sibling, or child? I'm leaning towards sibling. Goons is a lover, Moonian suggests a child. A little bean. Alright. So we're seeing a child and a lover. I'll tell you what. Let's let fate decide, huh? We have a fate die here. We got red and blue. Let's go red, a lover, blue, a child. Blue. A child it is. A sibling lover. All right there, Lannister. A child. Her name, yeah, okay, we'll just roll this again. Ah. He's a boy. His name is Mario's. It's a him. He lived with you for a while after your partner died. He lives with his godmother Chloe now in a house under the Acropolis. It's been years. A decade? Longer? He's almost grown by now. Do you think he remembers you? What's the point of dwelling on these things anyway? Marcos often says it's better to move on. For you, and for the people you left behind. Dwelling, trying to keep something of who you once were can only bring you pain. You and anyone you cared about. So then, it was another life. Before this unlife. If anything, I like myself better now. I've always been a monster. I hate what I've become, but is it really my fault I have to survive? I like this one. I may be a monster, but I don't hate myself. Just another state of being. No. Of course not. What would be the point? Besides, even monsters have to survive. At least you still have principles, things you believe in, that you hold on to. I like that children should be protected at all costs, which would fit into that character having a son, and probably doing everything that he could to protect it, so let's go with children should be protected. You would do anything in your power to avoid harm to a child. Not just yours. Any child. Or at least that's what you tell yourself. Let's hope you won't have to put that to the test. Spoiler alert, we're probably going to have to put that to the test. The warehouse you're looking for is a half-finished metro station, almost a mirror image of the real one, connected to it by a narrow, blind alley. This is the kind of bad planning that happens a lot around here. Someone has a good idea, good intentions even, but then fails to implement so spectacularly that the result is a hole in the ground, people displaced, fortune squandered. Oh well, suits you well enough, not gonna lie. To get to the warehouse, you have to go through the subway proper, traverse it until you reach the far end. There, you find a door that leads to the guts of the station, and once you're past that, you'll exit into the alley. Unfortunately for you, and perhaps for him too, keeping an eye on that first door is within the duties of a guy that paces the back of the station, guarding the bits that are not well lit enough for the subpar CCTV system. Ooh. Tell him I'm lost and steal his keycard without him noticing. Wait for him to walk away. Blue Tentacles, thank you very much for that follow. Nani? Knock him out and take his keycard. Wait for him to walk away and use my universal keycard to gain access. That's something that a problem player would do in a VTM campaign. Create a commotion in the main station to lure him away and then pick the lock. So what do you guys think? What would be the best option? This is probably going to determine how we start dealing with situations. Knock him out would obviously probably be strength. Actually, we need to look at stats here because all the games have done them differently. Okay, this is similar to Parliament of Knives. We've got athletics, awareness, etiquette, composure, fight. Rebel, always protect children for convictions, and no inventory. Commotion? I'm kind of leaning toward commotion. It seems like something a Malkavian would do. Let's create a commotion. We're going to play this a little bit loose. The station is fairly crowded, even this late at night. It's mostly people on their way to graveyard shifts or small groups out for a drink. You mingle as best you can and then push a man queuing from behind while also yelling that someone stole your wallet. People clutch their purses or start moving towards the exit, like prodded sheep. Immediately, you put some distance between yourself and the crowd. Behind you, an alarm sounds. And all the guards, including the one you're interested in, come running, right on cue. No one is paying any attention to you anymore. Or to the door. There's nothing interesting behind it, after all, unless you know what to look for. Kneeling, you retrieve the tension wrench and pick set you always keep in your backpack. It takes some effort. To be frank, you're not the best at this, but finally, just as the guard is heading your way again, the lock gives. You're through. The door clicks shut behind you. Now you're in the belly of the station, a dark maze of storage rooms, vents, and generators. The low hum of machinery reverberates through your bones. How do you know which way to go? I've studied and memorized the blueprints of the station. Buildings are made with a sense of purpose and internal logic. I intuit my way through. The easiest way is through the air vents. One just needs to be a little nimble, which I am. I would say... Now remember guys, we're trying to become a Malkavian. Apparently that's how this works. So I'm going to go with this one. Buildings are made with a sense of purpose. Malkavians are also known for their very powerful sense of intuition. So let's go with that. You only doubt yourself twice, but in the end your body just knows where to go. It's as if the path lights up for you, as plain and clear as the way out of a labyrinth seen from above. The alley is behind another door, but this one's not locked. Just a push bar, and you're outside again. Hey, Kath! You look left and right. The alley is nothing but a narrow gap between two massive buildings, enclosed from both ends. If you didn't know better, you might feel like a rat trapped in a box. The entrance to the warehouse is tucked behind a large metal container still overflowing with rubble from construction work that was completed years ago. You take a careful look around to make sure no one's watching before you reach behind the container for the chain you know is there. Your fingers feel for the rusty metal. There. Pull once, twice, then wait. A few moments pass, and then the metal door that is concealed by the container slides open with a drawn-out screech. Someone should really oil that door. The place is controlled mostly by thin bloods, but a few caitiff, vampires of unknown clan or no clan at all, like yourself, are also involved. They run a tight operation, with connections to most hospitals and clinics in the area. They even pose as mobile blood donation units sometimes, targeting poor neighborhoods where the euro per liter lure doesn't raise too many suspicions. And if it does, people just take the money and shut up about it. The prince tolerates the whole thing because the operation offers a valuable service to a lot of hungry, cranky vampires. And Pesistratos, Marcos insists, can be fine. When he's not a vindictive, petty megalomaniac, is the detail Marcos usually leaves unsaid. The guy you've never seen before appears at the door, filling the frame. He's so big he has to stoop to avoid banging his head against the metal at the top. Behind him, the abandoned station yawns like a mouth, the low whir of refrigerators in the background the only sound. The guy feels like a threat. He makes the little hairs on the nape of your neck stand on end, and that's even before he opens his mouth to say, "Who the fuck are you?" Marcos has sent you here for business, so it's probably not wise to hurt this man. But you can't help it. Your body is ready to draw on one of your two best ways out of hard situations. Using them teases the hunger that lies inside you in wait, but it's worth it. Every time. These are the gifts of the blood to you. Ooh. So, what is it? So we have two abilities we can choose. So the beast stirs behind my eyes, ready to be drawn out. That would be animalism. Senses reach out, their prying fingers ready to rummage through the man's soul. That's auspex. Momentum gathers inside me. If I struck now, I'd possess the speed of lightning. Celerity. The man is a blank book in my eyes. I could rewrite him into submission if I chose to. Dominate. Skin hardens. It becomes almost destructible like marble. Fortitude. Of course, I could just vanish, obfuscate, and I focus my uncanny strength into my fingers, aka potence. So, Malkavians traditionally have dominate, auspex, and obfuscate, and I tend to prioritize them in that order. Back in 3rd edition, which I really cut my teeth on, they had dementation, but now dementation is a ability of in dominate. So let's go ahead and say the man is a blank book in my eyes. You remember the first time you forced your will on someone? You hadn't meant to, even though looking back now, you know you wanted to. But then it felt natural, effortless, it just happened. It is the first time you mustered the courage to leave Marco's place after your embrace. He had tasked you with getting to know yourself again. Figuring out who you were, who you'd be, what you liked. You'd have to feed without his help eventually, he said. On your own. So he pointed you to a club, not far from where you are now, in fact, where strange things often went unnoticed or unspoken of. There was this guy. He was bothering the bartender, getting on your nerves. So you turned to him, locked eyes, and said, "Stop speaking." You'll never forget the look in his eyes. The surprise, the fear. His mouth kept working for a few seconds without making a sound, and then hung open like a fish's. How did that make you feel? Embarrassed? Powerful? Should any being possess that kind of control over another? Well, the bartender thanked you, in any case. Once you got a taste of the gifts that were newly available to you, Marcos helped you figure out what else you could do. He even sourced and allowed you to sample vitae with interesting potential. So you discovered your second major power. So now the cool thing about Caitiff is that Caitiff actually assimilate disciplines in certain situations faster than Kindred, who belong to a clan. At least it was during 3rd edition. What do you guys think? Should we go for Auspex, Obfuscate, or I actually don't want to really go with Obfuscate all that much, just because I spent so much time playing the Nosferatu in Parliament of Knives. I don't want to hide unless we absolutely have to, but we really haven't ever played a character with Auspex. So let's go ahead and borrow people's senses, even see inside their souls. At first, you tried to convince yourself you were hallucinating, lying to yourself, losing your mind. But you weren't. When you focused, you could see through others' eyes, taste what they tasted, mercifully and cruelly, something other than blood. Hear their innermost thoughts. You could tell the subtlest shift in your interlocutor. I've never heard that word before. Whether they wanted to or not. And then there were the premonitions, the visions. That sudden knowledge, uninvited and unescapable, of danger most often, of hidden threats, dishonest intentions, a concealed blade, a plan ill-conceived in the small hours before dawn, of doom, because that's the kind of world you live in. Now you knew what you could do, what you were best at, but you didn't stop there, and neither did Marcos. He discovered a new ally in you. On good nights, almost a friend. On other nights, a weapon. Other talents slowly revealed themselves. So now I need you guys' opinion on something. Should we go ahead and go full Malkavian and use Obfuscate? Or should we go ahead and take what I usually consider to be a given with Kindred, which is Fortitude, the ability to soak up damage? Let's hear some votes. Should we go with Fortitude or Obfuscate? Should it be Sneaky or Soaky? Goon says Goon says Fortitude. Cat says Fortitude. Messi says Fortitude. Yeah. Fortitude for the win. And being mentally resilient is also important. They've changed up Fortitude a bit since the old days. You can withstand so much. Your body resilient as never before. You can even steal your mind, fortify it against prying, make it blank. Your psyche nothing but a flat, empty surface. Sometimes you felt like a project for Marcos, or like one of the artifacts or rare books he always lusts after and hoards in that Tremere obsession of his. Oh no. Our mentor is a Tremere. Persa, Marco's true child, used to get jealous as he guided you, patiently and kindly, giving you taste of other gifts and glimpses and slivers. Maybe she still does, even after a decade of sharing a home and a mentor. Most of these minor gifts washed over you and were gone as soon as they came, but one of them remains. So we got animalism, celerity, obfuscate, potence. I think now we should probably grab obfuscate. We can soak damage, we can hide, we can bend people's will, and we can sense, like, things. You sense the unseen. We have the Sword of Omen, sight beyond sight. The reflexes are appealing, though. So I need you guys to vote for me, okay? You guys are the chorus inside the Malkavian mind. At least I'm hoping. Should our reflexes be off the charts, or should we be able to conceal our presence and cloak? Cat says roll a die. I'm okay with that. So we'll go red, celerity, blue, obfuscate. All right. Reflexes are off the charts. You can react without thinking and with grace that should not be possible for a human body. Correction, that is not possible for a human body. Or who would ever claim you're still human. Now, at the warehouse, you're ready to issue your orders, to bend this man to your will. A familiar voice stops you. Relax, you two. It's Martha! A thin blood you've met a few times before in your previous pickups, though it's your first time viewing the warehouse. Martha poses as a nurse often, does the blood draws. She's even wearing a nurse uniform right now. She looks odd, misplaced, this nurse in the middle of a fake metro station. She nods at you, then turns to the big guy. Slobodan, put your fangs away. You can see the muscles in the guy's jaw working. He's scared, sure, but also craving a fight. You know the type. And why would I do that? He asks. Martha answers for you. This is Marco's boy, you idiot. Slobodan's face drops. He's clearly no longer in the mood for a fight, but he's definitely scared of Marcos and of you. Is that right? Slobodan asks. I'm so sorry. He trails off. What's your name? We're going with Dorian. Dorian sounds great. And what are your pronouns, Dorian? Slobodan asks. Really? So first you try to threaten and intimidate me, and then you ask for my pronouns. He shrugs. I'm a civilized monster, what can I say? My pronouns are he/him. That's great, I'm glad you two got to know each other, Martha says with an absolute lack of emotion on her face. Can we get down to business now? Martha motions for you to follow her, and Slobodan closes the door behind you. The place is even bigger than you thought, but only in length. The ceiling is low, making the whole thing feel like the burrow of a long, thick worm. It's dark, with stains of sickly yellow light spilling from naked bulbs that hang from the ceiling every few meters. Natalia does a really good job of explaining, you get that visual, you can almost kind of smell and kind of get that vibe. One side of the warehouse is lined with beds, some still occupied. A couple of boxes big enough to sleep in. People sit up as you pass. You've seen most of them before, but you don't recall their names. Just their ashen faces, their despair, the viciousness of some, which, coupled with their weakness, only makes them sad to look at. Accidents, most of them. Embraced after a regretful feed, or blood dolls turned when someone mistook their hunger for love. This could have been you. Easy. Martha leads the way to the refrigerators while everyone else tiptoes around you, staying out of your way. Many of these people are far older than you. What must it feel like, doing the bidding of one as young as yourself? Do they envy you? Resent you? Martha stacks the agreed number of blood bags on a clean surgical table so you can inspect them before packing them away for transport. They're supposed to have been treated by some kind of thin blood alchemy that'll make them palatable and sustain someone as old as Vole, but there's no way for you to check if that's the case. You just have to take their word for it. Now's the time to announce the new price. Marcos wants to increase his margin, and the only way to do that is by buying cheap and selling high. By screwing over these guys, in other words. and there's nothing they can do about it. Not even hurt the messenger. Intimidation, polite and respectful, cool-headed and matter-of-fact. I don't want to intimidate them. I think we've already done a lot of intimidating just by our very presence. I'm leaning toward polite and respectful. Yeah, there's no need to insult them. Just be cordial until they do not give you a reason to be cordial. And then rip their head off. They take the news better than expected. You make it all sound like this is a mutually beneficial agreement. Not the bullying or exploitation that it actually is. But still, as you count the money to pay them, Martha says, Marcos asked you to do this, I get that. He wants his money. But he doesn't come himself, of course. He sends you. You seem like a nice enough person. She pauses. Do you always do what you're told? Order and justice. Justice! No. You see, I believe the world is a fucked up place. Obedience is foolishness. I only do what I want. Do you believe in nothing, then? Martha asks. I do have some principles. I'll just only harm those who deserve it. And you're the one who judges whether they deserve it, right? Martha asks. Figures. You also have feelings about the Masquerade, that great tradition, charade, that keeps mortals unaware of your existence. Feelings you don't need to share with anyone. Necessary for our survival, hate it, I am ambivalent about it. I think our character would be able to persevere in either world. Perhaps one night you'll be forced to make up your mind, but that night isn't tonight. Blood safely packed and money exchanged, you're about to leave the way you came when Martha touches you on the shoulder briefly, very briefly, and says, by the way, there's another way out. She points to the back end of the station, a hatch that goes down at first and then leads up onto the street level. Now you tell me? You ask, descending the steep ladder that leads down to the sewers. We didn't like you enough before, she says as she closes the hatch over your head. No time to ask whether she's being sarcastic or not. You're on your way to Vole's Haven, to the park that surrounds the ancient sanctuary of Pan, where the banks of the river Ilsos lie buried. Once again, apologies to all the Greek people. Traffic is light at this time of night, so walking there is quick and uneventful, even while hauling a conspicuous cooler full of human blood. Soon, you see the trees of the park silhouetted dark against the night sky, the columns of the temple of Olympian Zeus glowing faintly in the wan light of the moon. You jump the low balustrade that separates the modern highway from the ancient rocks, the new Athens from the old. You pass by the Byzantine church that was built on top of the ancient sanctuaries of Hecate and Pan, and disappear among the trees. People always do that around here. New buildings and their new gods founded on old buildings and older gods, which were in turn built on top of other, even more ancient ones. This country is a pastiche, a sedimented mass of erasures meant to hide what was there before, and what is still there. You look beyond the trees, beyond the church, at the city lights and the high-rises, the museums and the banks, the galleries, the malls. All they are, a facade, a distraction from what stands behind, what lies beneath. Blindfolds behind blindfolds behind blindfolds. Finally, you see the entrance to Vole's place, hidden in the crag between two rocks. You push away the covering that's meant to look like foliage and then remove the round grid that muzzles the mouth of the cave. As soon as you're in, the stench of sewage hits you. The river is not entirely dry, and here is where some of the city's waste ends up before, like everything, it falls into the sea. But there's something else laced through the scent of human excrement and rotting flesh, too. Something dusty and old, and without a name. Stepping over rivulets of dark water that you don't care to examine too closely, you walk down the length of tunnel until it opens into a torchlit cavern. The carved walls are lined with shelves and cabinets holding what looks like hundreds of volumes and dossiers. Other than that, the space is sparse. A bed, a couple of chairs, a mirror, a desk at which the Nosferatu they call Vole is sitting. You can see his profile, gray, emaciated, carved and eaten away, like the walls of his cave. He already knows you're there, of course, but still. Your pizza's here. The Nosferatu puts down his writing instrument and turns towards you. You notice he's not laughing at your joke. Then he stands. At his full height, he must be over 2 meters tall. "You must be Dorian," he says. "Come on in." You step closer. If your heart still beat, it would probably be doing some extra beating right now. Bullying a bunch of thin bloods is one thing, but telling a horror as old as time his food just got a lot more expensive is enough to make anyone just a little bit nervous. Or even a lot nervous. Oh, Recurrent Tart, thank you very much for that sub with Prime. Welcome. You get all the emotes and all the goodness. And remember, guys, all bit subs and ad revenue here on Twitch go to the Children's Hospital at the end of the month. So, thank you guys so much for supporting the channel and supporting the kids. The Nosferatu's profile did not reveal the full extent of his disfigurement. You can see now why the name Vole stuck. That snout and those teeth. Swallowing down the hard lump in your throat, you reach for the bag and open it to show him what's inside. Then, you explain Marco's new prices, but he waves your words away. "Please," he says. "I don't care about that." He fixes you with his beady eyes, then motions with his long fingers. "Come closer. Have a seat." He indicates one of the chairs. It doesn't sound like you have a choice, so you obey. Will this go on YouTube? I believe we were going to go ahead and post this tomorrow, Goon. I think. Vole could easily hunt for his food, but he doesn't. Marco says he rarely leaves his cave anymore. Not even for council business. Why Prince Pisistratos puts up with him is a mystery. Vole glances at the blood bags, picks one up, and closes the lid of the cooler carefully. He sits on the other chair across from you. Then sips. For a moment, he looks like a child with a bag of juice. Trick of the light. Gone already. His gaze drifts to the wall, then back at you. He extends his arm, holding the bag towards you. "A sip?" he asks. Hey, Wretch finally caught a stream. Absolutely love your YouTube channel. Thank you, Recurrent. I appreciate that. We've been getting such good vibes today in chat. I'll keep making the videos if you guys keep watching. Oh, that's interesting. Now here's our preferences. I prefer my food fresh, quiet, and dreaming. One for ready meals. Food live and kicking. Fresh blood that's giving freely and willingly. Take it. Always been one for ready meals, especially when the meal is blood. Slowly, you reach for the bag and bring the bloodied outlet port to your mouth. The familiar taste of the PVC comes first, then the slight, sweet staleness of the anticoagulant. There's something else behind it, though. A concentrated vitality that is, no doubt, the result of whatever thin blood shit they do to this blood. You sip, swallow. Remember the first time you tasted human blood? It wasn't from a blood bag, you remember that. Marco says the first blood you drink sculpts you in some way. It leaves an impression on you, an invisible scar, or maybe a birthmark of sorts, though it's neither hereditary nor inflicted. Your sire fed you as soon as you were embraced, before abandoning you. The only kindness you were shown, and the only cruelty. Blood. Warm, metallic, and something else. Something revolting, something delicious, squirming, desperate to live. Ooh. That seems like something a Malkavian would say. This is what diamonds must taste like. What do you guys think? I'm leaning toward 4. That just seems... I like the visual of that. Or not the visual necessarily, but the... Yeah, it's colorful. I remember thinking to myself, this is what diamonds must taste like. What precious must taste like. Blood is precious, and it must be preserved, cherished. This is what the blood bags are. You hand the bag back to Vole. I better get going, you say. No! He screams, making you wince. Your body tenses. You can't help it. For a single instant, Vole's face becomes a mask of rage. Then it relaxes into a face of a stranger. Someone forgettable.
Ready, player 1.
Goon, thank you very much for that sub. You got a prime sub, a tier 1 sub. You guys are awesome, thank you.
You will stay with me a while.
His face is back to its sewer rat appearance now. The Vole face. You can still see the echoes of his other selves there, in the lines carved into his cheeks. There they are. Faces upon faces upon faces. Marcos will be worried, you say, not daring to move from your seat yet. Looking at him now, you realize he must have been turned when he was quite young. But there's nothing young left in him anymore. Something within has been extinguished long ago. Do you still have it? That thing?
Marcos won't mind,
he says.
We are old associates, you see.
He pauses, stares at the blood for a moment.
Besides, after that price rise, it's the least he can do for me.
He means you are the least Marcos can do for him. Like your merchandise. Oof. I don't know how he would think about this. What do you guys think? I pity him. Perhaps there's something to be gained here. We really are a sorry bunch, aren't we? He's disgusting. He's disgusting. He angers me. I think I like the pity, but I'm not sure which one would be best. I'm leaning toward 2. Look, you guys are saying 1? Okay, I can go with that. Perhaps there's something to be gained here. Of course, you say. I'll stay. Still not a choice, though, and you know it. You glance at the shelves and filing cabinets again. You nod toward them. What's in those?
Nothing,
He says at first, his tone abrupt. Then he looks at you, and something in his posture relaxes a little, almost imperceptibly.
I'm sorry
He lowers his eyes.
for snapping.
No worries, you reply, though perhaps you should worry. Why wouldn't you?
I used to believe in violence.
Vole continues.
I used to believe you could hunt monsters, make the world a better place.
And you don't anymore? You ask.
No,
You wait for him to elaborate on how that has anything to do with the files and books, but he doesn't. Instead, he looks at the carved wall, leaking sewage. God, the stench.
the world has dimmed, child.
He says.
Soon the monsters will be walking free again. Then nothing will matter.
Vole keeps staring somewhere to the left, his gaze unfocused. There are claw marks on the wall. An image flashes before your eyes, of Vole beating the wall, clawing at it with his nails, crying himself to starvation, muttering in a language you don't understand. As soon as it's gone, though, as soon as it appeared. He's looking east, you realize now. Is he thinking of sunrises? But no, not sunrises. You've heard the stories about him. How he was beckoned and left his cave, crossed the city until he reached the sea, followed the dried river's old path. How then he kept walking right into the sea, across the Aegean, all the way to Turkey, and then, who knows? How, a decade later, he came back changed, even more solitary and melancholy than before. This is his prison. He caged himself here. Why, no one knows. Perhaps he couldn't stand the sight of the world anymore? Or to keep himself from going back? Afraid, perhaps, of what he might do? As he continues to look at the wall, you can't help but wonder, can he still hear it? The call. Does the blood speak to him? Does it clamor and scream? Then Vole turns towards you with a sudden jerk of the head and asks,
Where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
like a damn job interview or a bad personality test. Oh, I don't make plans. It's the only sure way to avoid disappointment. He smiles. It's a ghastly sight.
Ah,
He says,
kids these days.
Why do you care anyway? He looks at you for a long moment, but then, instead of replying, he reaches for your hand. He stops himself immediately. Doesn't dare touch you. What was that? Is he looking for companionship? Is this a remnant of his mortal affections, an echo of emotion from long ago? Does he still experience romantic attraction? Do you? Now, I'm either leaning toward I don't to anymore, Or I can be attracted to women. I tend not to play characters of different orientations just because I don't think I can portray them with any kind of justice. Does that make sense? Like, I don't think I can live up to that. So, what do you guys think? Should we go for, like, no romantic attraction whatsoever, or be attracted to women? Like, of course, you know, they have games where Hades, where you have the option for, you know, for whatever. 4. Do you mean 5, Kath, with life being a smorgasbord? An affair is a veritable smorgasbord, for those of you who remember the Charlotte's Web cartoon. Okay. Call it a burning dumpster fire, but smorgasbord works as well. Oh, you meant 5? Okay. Can you toss a spoiler to make this easier? No. No, I think we're good. Here, we'll roll for it. Let's make life interesting. We'll go ahead and say red, attracted to women. Red, attracted to people of any gender. We'll just see what happens here. Blue, you're attracted to women. Or at least you think that's the case. Because what are feelings anymore?
Do you believe in fate, Dorian?
He asks. Would a Malkavian believe in fate? Yeah, I was thinking that too, Goon. I believe we make our own fate. You say so with all the conviction you can muster. Vole laughs quietly, a sound like gravel rubbing on a tin slate.
You're an interesting beast,
he says finally.
I think I see now what it is that Marco saw in you.
An hour or so before dawn, Vole lets you go. You get up to leave. As you enter the tunnel that leads to the exit, you look over your shoulder and see him staring at the mirror. He touches his face with his long fingers, traces the remains of his cheekbone. Then he catches you watching him in the reflection and quickly turns away. It's been a while since the last time you ate, and the sip from that blood bag Vole offered you did little more than tease your appetite. You feel the hunger rolling inside you. Night, Goon. Thanks for coming by, appreciate you, and for that sub. You must feed soon. Time's running out, too. The sky is already taking on that indigo blue of early morning. The sunrise like a worry gnawing at the back of your head. Remember the last time you saw the sun? Close your eyes and picture it. Ah! With the dark disk etched on the back of your eyelids, you set out to satisfy your hunger. You won't be home fast enough to feed in private. You must feed now. You jump the railing that separates Vole's park from the highway again, then disappear into the intricate network of alleys and passageways between building blocks. The city's historic struggle with street planning a blessing. Just what a monster needs. Finally confident enough that you found a deserted alley to give you some privacy, you open your backpack and retrieve the blood bag you kept for yourself. Either Vole didn't notice his delivery was one bag short, or he didn't care. Probably the latter. Which means he probably won't tell Marcos about it either. Which is great, because he doesn't want you sampling the product. What's meant for clients is not meant for you. You twist the outlet port open and bring the bag to your mouth. You suck on the port like a straw, focusing on the alchemy-bred vitality behind the staleness. You feel the blood flowing through you, bolstering you enough to keep this corpse you call a body upright. You keep sucking. In your eagerness, a rivulet of blood dribbles from the corner of your mouth. Then you glimpse something at the end of the hallway. A shadow. It's a person. A mortal. Robed in black, long beard, clear face, bright eyes. Like a monk or a low-ranking priest or something. You're not quite versed in the hierarchy of the Greek Orthodox Church. His eyebrows are knitted in suspicion. You can see yourself through his eyes. Imagine what you look like to him. Ooh. Do we want to be masculine, femme, or androgynous? Do we want to be like Bowie? We should be like Bowie. I think some folks in chat could probably agree. If you ever have an opportunity to be more David Bowie, you should be more David Bowie. Do we have any objections to that? I think that's going to actually work out pretty well for us, all things considered. Yeah, let's do it. An androgynous guy with a style that you would describe as... true goth, death metal dude, quirky librarian, hipster, indie pop rock, boho, corporate sleek. Quirky librarian actually meets our look. But right now, you're a quirky librarian sipping from a blood bag like it's a goddamn soda can. What's going on? The monk asks. Do you need help? Why would I need help? Comes a few steps closer and points at your mouth. You have something there, he says. His voice is soft and melodic. It looks like blood. You wipe your mouth on the back of your hand. I'm fine, you say. Thanks. As you glance at the monk's face, a knowledge sears itself on the inside of your skull. You will meet this man again. You can almost taste his blood on your tongue. You move away from the monk. It's dark. If you're lucky, he might not be able to see you well enough to recognize you later, so better not give him a chance for a good look. I should go, you say. You turn the corner, leaving the monk behind. I wonder if that's our auspex, because if Natalia went ahead and added auspex glances in the middle of the dialogue, that's actually, or in the middle of the scenes, that is awesome. What's a monk doing out at this time of night anyway? You keep walking. You're on your way back to Marco's place, on your way back home, but your legs take you to the house where your son lives, as they so often do these days. Sometimes it feels like your body is not yours, like someone or something else is moving you, playing with your own life. You can resist, make your own way, but this body will always have a mind of its own. The house is as it always was, because Mario's godmother never changes anything, especially not since your disappearance. If she's trying to keep everything exactly the same. Time objects, of course. It does not take kindly to mortal vanities and mortal hopes. The facade is coming down, no matter how hard she tries to maintain it. The house is pretty old, even by vampire standards. There's a light on the second floor. Mario's room. So, do we climb and peek through the window? Do we leave? Or should we knock on the door and then disappear, hoping to glimpse him? there's spiciness in any of these options. It's got a lot of potential. I'm afraid if we climb and peek through the window, we're going to scare him. And I don't really want to do that. I think knocking on the door and disappearing would probably be the best option. Maybe it's just a prank. Let's go with that. The time is brutal, but it's clear someone in the house is up. And you really need to see him. Even if it's just for a moment. You stand by the front door and ring the bell. Then you run and hide around the corner. And you wait. This was a gamble, because you couldn't know if it would be Marios or his godmother that would come to the door, but it seems you got lucky this time. Marios opens the door without asking who it is first. He even steps out, his face illuminated by the streetlight, and you almost yell at them. Wait. Oh. You almost yell at them. Don't do that. You shouldn't fucking do that. Just stay inside. Keep the chain on. Don't open the door to strangers. Strangers. That's who you are now, isn't it? Are you still Mario's father? Or did your body forfeit that privilege when it passed through death's threshold and persisted? Maybe both things can be true at once. Your son may be orphaned, but you are still his father. When Marios goes back inside, it's time for you to go back to Marco's place. To go back home. Right, give me 1 sec here, guys. Okay. When you reach the front gates, it's almost dawn. The house is a literal villa, surrounded by a garden that nobody ever grooms, to the point that it resembles a jungle now. A high white wall around it all. It even has a landline, if only for emergencies, but it does mean there's Wi-Fi. Strictly vanilla, of course. No vampire business to be conducted online. It's unclear to you whether the house belonged to the guy whose identity Marcos assumed when he installed himself in Athens in the early 1920s, or whether he bought it with the fortune he brought with him from Vienna, or if it was some kind of favor one of his many clients repaid in kind. You buzz the intercom, and Persa's voice soon crackles through the speaker. "Let me in, sis," you say. There's a wait. Probably Persa debating letting you turn to ash in the coming dawn, but then the gates swing open. "Not your sis, asshole," you hear Persa's voice say behind you as you go in. You make your way up to the house and quickly let yourself in. All the shutters are closed, and so is the second, time-delayed entrance behind the front door. They're there to make sure there's no sunlight ever makes it in, even if someone gets careless or a death wish becomes too strong. Persa is on the couch, painting her nails a bright blue that matches Marco's eyes. Dissatisfied, she keeps removing the polish and then reapplying it. Okay. That suddenly just popped up. A wild Marco appears. Marcos is on his way downstairs, his nose in one of his books. He doesn't even look at you when you enter. This is what Marcos is like. Sometimes he dotes on you, and other times he acts like you barely exist. "How did it go?" he asks distractedly. "I had a long chat with Vole. Interesting character." That seems to do the trick. Now he's looking at you, like really looking. A strand of blonde hair falls into his eyes, making him look suspiciously innocent. "Oh. What did you talk about?" Shrug. "I don't know," you say. "Fate, I guess?" You remember the claw marks on the wall, but you don't mention them. "Fate," Marcos repeats. "I see." Then he turns around and continues his descent to his chambers. "Come on, Childer," he shouts before shutting his door behind him. Time for our beauty sleep. You collapse on the couch next to Persa. She doesn't look at you, instead concentrating on her work of polishing, undoing, polishing again. There's still a few minutes before the sun rises. Do you ever miss who you were before, Persa? I ask. That earns you a sideways glance. And who is that? She asks back. I don't know. You tell me. She turns back to her work painting her toenails, but her hand slips and polish runs down the side of her foot. You'd expect her to toss the thing across the room at this point, but instead she just sits there, staring at her foot. Look at that, she says without feeling. It's ruined. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and look at our stats real quick. We are still very much a caitiff. Predator type, bagger. We have a lot of humanity right now. We need to feed again soon. Our etiquette is at 70, learned, persuasion, tech. Self-serving, a little bit of a rebel, a little bit hard, and 61% a cynic. I like what we have so far. And we have Auspex 3, Dominate 3, Fortitude 2, and Celerity 1. Always protect children, only harm those who deserve it, and a lockpicking set. I think that's a pretty good starting character, guys. I'd like to think. So, we are going to go ahead and end it here, and we will pick it up in the next stream with Chapter 2. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to stream this on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and just go through one chapter at a time. We're going to take our time with this, you know what I mean? And just see what happens. Hopefully we'll be able to get Malkavian. I'm trying to lean that way, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. So if you haven't followed the Twitch channel, please do so. I try and stream on Tuesdays, Thursdays, weekends, and random times in between. And if you're watching the replay of this on YouTube, thank you guys very much for watching. I really appreciate when you guys tune in. I have a link to the Twitch channel in the description below, a link to the Steam page for Vampire the Masquerade Sins of the Sires if you guys want to take your own trip through the world of darkness. And I also have a link to my Extra Life page where I'm raising money for my local children's hospital via the awesome Extra Life charity. So check out all of those links if you feel so inclined. Like, share, subscribe. You guys know the drill there. And we will see you in the next stream. Later days, everyone.